Hello and welcome to Math 2-3. My name's Stephen Rennie. Happy that you're joining me here. I'm going to take a couple minutes to take you through the curriculum for Math 2-3 so you can understand what your student will be experiencing this year. Let's get to it. First of all, a couple of things about me. I am a teacher here at Islander Middle School and a Washington State native. I was born in Portland and grew up in Southwest Washington. And in fact, I'm an alumni of Washington State University. So go Cougs. This is my 17th year teaching in middle schools around the state of Washington, and in fact, it's my 10th year teaching here at Islander Middle School. I started at Islander back in 2004, left for a while, and came back about 8 years ago. I'm the cross country and track head coach at IMS. I am also the athletic director at IMS. As far as stuff I like to do, hiking, biking, live music, all the Pacific Northwest stuff. You'll see some pictures of some of my favorite people on the screen there. And one other picture that I do want to share with you that I share with my students every year is this one. It's a picture of me when I was their age. There you go. There's Mr. Rennie, circa, 1988 or 89. They always get a good laugh out of that one. So there you go. You can have all the laughs you want as well. All right. This is probably one of the more important slides that you'll see tonight as you watch this. And that is, where can you find the information that you need to be able to support your kids' learning? And I would say this, it is Schoology. The Schoology app or the Schoology website has the best information. Each week, we will be posting information there as far as notes, study guides, daily assignments, other information. If you go there, you'll see everything that they're doing on a daily basis. As far as grades go, that will be tracked more in the cumulative app. But you can always access Schoology either through your own login or just ask your kid to show it to you on their iPad. And you'll be able to see the practice that we do every single day in Math 2-3. And suffice to say, we do have daily practice every single day in Math 2-3, except for days where we take tests. All right, the other piece where you're going to find information is via the EdGems website. EdGems is our school's curriculum for Math 2-3, and your student has access to the online curriculum there. They can access lesson plans, they can see things they can explore, practices, lesson videos, extra notes, extra practice, all sorts of different things for them to be able to get the topics down. And the units that we use and what we label them always will correspond to the units in EdGems. So for instance, if they're in unit 2.1 in their math notebook, they will also be in unit 2.1 in the EdGems curriculum. So that's another great place to access for extra information and extra practice. And your student does have access to that on their iPad, to the EdGems curriculum. All right, what's on deck for learning this year? Lots of stuff. Here we go. Ratios and rates. That's what we already tackled at this point of the year. We're kind of past that and moving on to the next thing. But ratios and rates were our first unit, and then into rational number operations. So dealing with operations of positives and negatives and rational numbers as well. After that, proportional relationships will be coming up. That'll be a little bit later this fall. And then into a unit on percents as we kind of approach the holiday break. Algebraic expressions are next on deck. That's laying the foundation for algebra to come next year, as well as equations and inequalities. We'll spend a lot of time on this, probably in the new year, on equations and inequalities. Again, laying that strong foundation so that algebra is a success in the next year. 2D and 3D geometry as we head into the spring will be a big focus of emphasis, and then into a short unit on probability and statistics after that. Wrapping things up as we get to exponents and then transformations of geometric figures as we wrap things up for the year. All right. What does your student need for the school year? Here are the materials they'll need for math class every day. The first one, really important, a dedicated math notebook. And that should be probably a composition notebook is best. And they'll be taking notes and putting them in that composition notebook. Kind of have as we fill out and we glue in notes as we go. So you want to have room for that. I like a graphing paper for the background. Some students like to use a spiral notebook. That's fine. Whatever works for them. but it does need to be a dedicated math notebook, no other subjects in there. Pencils and correcting pens are important. We want to make sure we're able to correct our work there. A scientific calculator, any brand will do. I like Casio's, but they should probably have their own calculator. In fact, they should have their own calculator so they can get used to using which buttons are which instead of us trying to train as we go. iPad should be charged up and ready to go every single day, and a great attitude for learning. Okay, what about grades? We're operating on a standards-based grading system. If you are brand new to the middle school, then it's a lot like the elementary school system. If your student has been in middle school any more than a year at this point, they know what standards-based grading is. If we're seeing ones, that means we're not really near that standard that we're looking at getting to. A 2 or a 2.5 means it's very close, approaching that standard, and we've got just a little bit of work to get us over the hump. 3 is achieving standard, and that's the bare minimum for passing the Math 2-3 class. I'll talk about that in a second. And then 4 is well above standard, showing advanced thinking that goes beyond the standard that we're learning. And this is the really important part here. Minimum level 3 needs to be achieved every trimester in order to advance to Algebra 1. That means in trimesters 1, 2, and 3, your student needs to be at least at a level 3. Level 3.5 or level 4 are great, but at least at a level 3 in order to advance to Algebra 1. If any of those trimesters drop below that level 3, then we're going to have to look at alternatives for their next year's math class, potentially a repeat of 2-3 or going to Math 3. Again, Algebra 1, absolutely necessary. Level 3 has to be achieved all 3 trimesters this year. All right, this grading system, really the underpinnings of it, there are 4 mindsets that we're looking at, and one of them is mindset 1, that behavior is ungraded. So we don't give points based on homework completion or participation or effort. That is something that should be done no matter what. There's no compliance points, there's no extra credit. Instead, the grade is based on showing that you understand what is happening and understand the standard at hand. I tell the kids in the same way that you don't get extra points if you show up to practice when you go to a basketball game. It all starts at 0-0. The game's what counts. But doing the practice is what gets you good enough to be able to compete well in the game. Mindset 2 is lifting the veil, and that is simply making sure that the students know what the standards are for that given unit. And if you look in your students' math notebook, you'll see on each one of the lessons, there is a learning target there. That learning target corresponds to the standard, and it corresponds to what we're going to be learning in the course of that unit. The tests and quizzes are labeled with those standards as well, and we talk about them in class. Mindsets 3 and 4. Mindset 3 is flexible means. That means that there are lots of ways to show that you have mastered a standard. Primarily will be tests and quizzes in math class, but sometimes we'll use more informal means, and sometimes students will talk to me one-on-one to make sure that they have the understanding to go forward. And then 4th is that we have multiple ways of getting evidence to assess and reassess and reassess. That means that the first time is not the only time. That means that if a student doesn't get it right away and they're a level 2 or a level 2.5, there are multiple opportunities to be able to prove that they understand what's going on and show evidence that they have met that standard. So multiple assessments, and if you want to just call it retakes, then that's what it is. We want to make sure that we get to the standard, not that we get to the standard the first time. The first time's great. The third time's fine too. All right, that's about it for this. I will leave you with my email address there. You can see it at the bottom of the screen. Email me anytime, please. I will endeavor to get back to you within 24 hours at the minimum. And if you've got questions, concerns, things I should know about your student, please send them to that email address at the bottom. And we're going to have a great year in Math 2-3. Thanks so much for your time, and thanks so much for trusting me with teaching your student. Let's have a great year.